I'm here with Niklas of Livløs to talk about the Crescent King, out October 4th on Noctum Productions. I had to take a look at that because I didn't want to mispronounce Noctum and say something else. Because, I'm horrible with that shit. But anyways, Niklas, new record, you're back. You guys have
Yeah.
a new music. How's it going?
Yes. It's going pretty well. It's there's a little over a week now to the album release, and we are very excited for it. I mean, it's traditionally that the band thinks that the new album is the best they've ever done, but we really think that it's the best we've done. We
So
think it's a big step up from our last album.
yeah, so let's talk about that and start off with the concept behind it. Who is the Crescent King? What is the Crescent King?
The Crescent King is, first of all, the main character of this story that's in the concept. It's a story that's chronologically told throughout the album. Um, and he is, in some ways, just a random guy. He could be nobody, he could be anybody, you know? Uh, and when the world goes to shit, when the world dies and humanity almost dies with it, I won't spoil too much, but he rises up to be like humanity's savior. And then there's this whole space journey where they try to find a new planet with him leading the small fraction of what's left of humanity. And then there's of course some turning points in the story, which you know also changes his character. Because like when people go through life, there's certain events that change you as a person, and there's also something that changes him along the journey. And long story short, he is the symbol of humanity in a way where he he has that motivation to do great things and the capability to do great things, but ultimately he falls in the hubris of man, so to say, and continues that cycle of death and destruction
I think
in the
we're
end.
doomed to always follow that pattern.
Yeah.
We're flawed in that way. Um, One thing I noticed about the record, so when I was listening to the album, I know it's a concept record, and I'm following the story as it develops throughout. But I felt like the songs, normally in a concept record, the songs almost feel completely tied in and merged together as one. At least that's more of a
Yeah.
normal feel. But I felt like this record, the songs had a lot of individuality to them, which allows you to kind of pluck them out of the record and you don't really lose anything at all. Like the song is still the song.
Yeah.
Was that the approach to have a concept album, but allowing the songs to be their own thing at the same time?
Yeah. So when we decided that we wanted to do a concept album, we were also very conscious about wanting to that we wanted each song to have their own life, so to say. Uh, because, like you said, when you have a concept album where the music also is joined together, so you almost have to listen to the entire thing. It can be a difficult thing to get through the entire album each time, and we wanted each song to have its own life. So even though they are all connected, especially by the story and the lyrics, of course, mostly, they are also connected in like the vibe of the album. The what do you call it? Uh, yeah, the general vibe of the album. But each song still is very individual, like you said, and also in the lyrics, they're also pretty individual in that even though the story is connected, they each have their own
Mhm.
contained part of the story.
Yeah, that for me was a shock. Like I was not expecting that. That was like, wow, that's an interesting. I was not expecting that approach at all. It's not traditional, so I was not
Uh,
expecting that approach at all. And then the other thing that surprised me right after that, in terms of the vibe. or the atmosphere, if you want to use that word instead, is that I felt like this
Right.
record compared to previous albums, this is a lot darker. It's I almost felt like at times I was listening to a black metal record. It has some songs have a very narrow path and very dark and somber. Are you guys pissed off at people or something? Like you're like, fuck this shit. We're gonna make like this freaking heavy driven dark sounding record and give everybody the finger.
Nah, I mean,
A little bit.
we maybe a little bit. I mean, we're actually very outward going people, and we like people. We also always love talking to our fans at our shows. We also as like at our shows we always down at the merch booth, of course selling, but also talking with our fans. Um, I don't know. I mean, I know our songs are a lot about how shitty people are. um, but it's not like that's the only thing we feel. It's just, I mean, it's death metal. You got to show the bad side.
It's hard not to, when you
Yeah,
live in a world of shitty people, it's kind of hard not to let that influence your lyrical content and how you come around. By the way, this is Benjamin's first record with a band, correct? On bass?
yes, yeah,
Now, the bass sound on this album is like no other that I've heard on any record that you guys have ever released. Did he have, I mean, obviously he had the impact of him bringing his own flavor and his own style, but did you guys change anything from a production standpoint to give it a little bit more emphasis as well?
definitely. I mean, our last bass player, uh, nothing against him, but he was just like doing, the required playing, like to, you know, support the guitars because our music is very guitar driven. So he was mostly just supporting the guitars, and but with Benjamin, I mean, I would probably say he's one of the best metal bass players in Denmark. I can maybe think of a couple that's in his league in like raw technicality. In Denmark, of course. Um,
He's the Michael
but
Laudrup
yeah,
of bass players in Denmark.
what?
He's the Michael Laudrup of bass players.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but he also, yeah, he brings a lot of his own flavor, and he really puts a lot into the songwriting itself. I mean, we gave him uh, pretty much freedom of choice for what he wanted to do. Of course, there was some songs that were already partly written before he joined the band, so we had to like keep some of that in there as well. But he got a lot of freedom of choice, and he also got to have a lot of influence on not just the bass sound, but also the entire sound, because we wanted him to be a full-fledged member from the start. Um, and yeah, he's just damn good.
He is damn good, and you
Yeah,
and you guys really took advantage of that on this record, and that is massive change. The moment I press play and I hear the bass coming through, and it really predominant, but with a very nice texture, still allowing the guitars to breathe and the drums and everything else, but peaking it, almost giving a little bit of a technical death metal feel to the album, which you guys didn't have that before, and that adds great texture to the sound. I really loved it.
yeah, we think so too. And I think on our previous album, Another One On, I also think of course, the streaming services, equalizes the sound a bit, so it's not that loud. But the original files are way too loud, so all the sound is like kind of in the mid, and it just becomes kind of flat. Where this is more dynamic in
More
the
dynamic.
in the production.
Yeah, I agree as well. I agree as well. And
Yeah,
and you have like it's an album where it feels like there's a lot more musical influences coming in. You see, like I said, when I was listening to it, I heard tidbits of like black metal, technical death
yeah,
metal, melodic death metal, the traditional death metal. It was just a little bit more textured sound on this album than what I was experienced before. One thing I thought the album was missing was a little bit more atmosphere, a little bit more ambient. which I've seen
Okay.
you guys do that before, but on this record, it wasn't. I mean, maybe one or two songs. Harvest has it a little bit more, but it's not as predominant throughout the record. Was that because of the concept of the album, or was just a musical decision not to have as much of that bigger atmospheric sound behind the tracks?
That's a good question. I mean, it's not a conscious decision like that we wanted less atmosphere. I think, yeah, like you said, Harvest has it, and Endless Majesty in the end, the
Yep.
outro has it as well. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think we much of the writing process of the music were. I think that much of that was largely the same as the previous album. We just took it one song at a time, and we adjusted some of when a song was done. We maybe went back to it later to adjust a few things, but the process was largely the same with taking one song at a time or maybe two songs at a time, taking it slow. So I don't think yeah, not a conscious choice to have less atmosphere. I originally felt this had more, but when you put it like that, I can see what you mean.
Yeah, at least that's my perception. I mean, I like,
Yeah,
what do I know? I'm just a guy on YouTube that listens to music, so I don't know. I don't know shit for shit, man. You guys are the ones. You guys are the ones making the music. It's just my perception when I was listening to the record, and it's to me it became noticeable with songs like Harvest, like you said, the closing track of the record, because those have
yeah,
more. So when you're listening to the album and those come in, you're like, wow, like that wasn't there before, but it's here now. And that's what makes it more noticeable. If those tracks are not there or don't have it, then you don't notice it at all. It would have blended in. And Harvest is my favorite
true.
song. So
Oh, I'm glad. That's my favorite as well.
is that your favorite?
Yeah,
Dude, the bass sound is phenomenal. The overall sound is outstanding. The song feels just like it has swag. Like the song
yeah.
has swag, and then the vocals are killer. So, how was it for you putting that whole track together?
It was actually one of the songs we struggled
It's always
more
like
with.
that.
Yeah,
Favorite
because
song is
the midsection with where it goes from this very slow, heavy, a little black sounding first part of the song, and then the middle section where we have all the bass tapping and the both everything is just going crazy in the mid section, and we had a hard time with the glue in between that and also the atmospheric outro after that. The glue between those three parts was very difficult for us to make work. And I mean, there's still the cuts are still pretty hard, like especially between the first section and the middle section. But I think we made it work in the end. But it was causing us a lot of trouble.
you definitely made it work. Hands down, my favorite song on the record. Such a good track. Has all the things that I love put together in one single song, and you guys absolutely deliver. It's a phenomenal sounding track. How was this album for you on a vocal standpoint? Considering the concept, considering the approach that you guys took, was it a more demanding album for you, or pretty much the same?
Definitely more demanding. I've said in other interviews that I maybe I just need a break, but I probably won't do a concept album again because I'm very OCD about my lyrics. Maybe that comes through, maybe it doesn't. I don't know, but I'm very particular about writing the lyrics, and I mean, I can spend maybe up to 40, 50 hours just writing one song, the lyrics for one song. And when you also have full time job, it was a lot of late nights, and I got sick and tired of writing it. I'm very proud and happy of the results, but it wasn't that fun writing it. I love singing new songs uh, because it's also fun when you. This is a fictive album. There's of course some. ideas grounded in reality, but it's mostly fictive, you know. So it was fun to write about, both write and think about like fictitious, fictitious. But how do you say that? Fictitious.
Uh, I know what you're trying to say, but now I can't
Yeah.
think of the word either. Uh,
Let's just call it fiction.
Fiction. Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah.
English is my
So
second
it's
language, so I'm struggling with it too.
yeah, okay, yeah, and I had a long day at work, so I'm used to speaking a lot of English today. Anyway, it was fun both singing and writing about fiction, but it got got tough towards the end. Also with finishing the story, as it went along, it just got harder and harder to write because you know you had to connect it all in the end. So I mean, some of it was fun, some of it was not fun. I think I will maybe if I'm doing like uh, fiction again, it might be contained to one song at a time where there's like a smaller story. And but yeah, I definitely need a break from writing concept albums.
Okay, so there's not going to be an Abigail 2. So or the Crescent King, I should say, the Crescent King 2.
Yeah,
All right, so that
not for a
is
while anyway. Not for a while.
not for a while. Funny enough, I think this is the best vocal performance you've ever done, like hands down.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter what track you're on, whatever. Like the vocal performance on this record, it's one of the pillars of this album. Like people can argue about the design, the concept, the sound, whatever. If there's one thing I don't think anybody can argue about or shouldn't argue about is how good the vocals were. That I think we can all agree. Incredible vocal performance. So I don't know if it was the lyrics, the concept. I don't know, but you outdid yourself.
thank you very much. It means a lot because I always also practice a lot, and you know was I think on the last album I was thinking more about writing cool lyrics and also pushing as much. It was my first album in the band, so I think I was pushing as much vocal as I could in there. I think here I had a bit more relaxed relationship to it and just wrote what sounded. I had the sound in mind first before the lyrics and the story, even though the lyrics maybe should be, you know, more present here. But it all came together in the end. But I think it helped a lot to just concentrate on how should it sound like first.
Yeah, well, the
Uh,
results speak for themselves. So,
yeah,
even though I know you don't want to do a concept album anytime soon, are you going to take the same vocal approach to get the same sort of results in the next record?
definitely. I always have that. I always try to take what worked best on the last record and you know continue working on that on the next one. So there were some things vocally on and then there went on which I either just dropped completely or changed to something else. Um, and I will definitely do the same here. Take the things think work best and just drop the others, or continue to evolve them.
One last question for you. So the album comes out October 4th. What's
Yeah.
next for you guys? What's what's
Next,
what's the next plans for you guys?
well, we're planning some. We're of course gonna go out on tour to support the album. Um, we haven't announced anything yet, but it will be soon. And we hope it's mostly in Denmark because that is our largest audience. We haven't been that much to outside Denmark yet, unfortunately. But we hope that will change with this album.
I hope
And
so as well.
yeah, and we of course we are. Yeah, I was thinking if I was allowed to say it, but we are always working on new stuff. So we're already working on new songs.
Oh wow. By the way, that performance in that live video that you well, the video footage was live, the audio wasn't live. Was that in
Yeah,
Copenhagen?
yeah. The Copenhagen second biggest stage, the Hades stage,
Look, that looked like fun.
very fun. But you know, when it's when the shows are that big and you know the set was like 40 45 minutes long, you know, you just the adrenaline is pumping so much that when you walk off stage, you forgot everything. You didn't even you didn't even get to feel it.
Well, you guys look like you were having a great time. Let me just
We
say
were
that.
definitely.
And great t-shirt choices amongst the band members, I must say.
Thank you.
It was nice to see that performance. We're planning actually of coming to Denmark next year. We're coming to Epic Fest in
Awesome.
Roskilde or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we're going to be in your neck of the woods. I mean, you guys are not playing there because the last time I checked, you guys are not an epic metal band. I mean, you guys are epic, but you know,
Not that epic.
yeah, you guys are not like Lord of the Rings epic. So,
No. Hey, maybe a new concept album.
hey, the Crescent King becomes the Lord of the Rings. You never know. Maybe there's
Yeah,
something to be had there. Maybe you're gonna have to have another concept album and you not even know about it.
maybe. I mean, you know, if I get an awesome idea I can't let go of course we can do it again. But I just don't have the motivation to come up with a new concept for now.
No, I think this one is still too fresh in your memory. All the pain
Yeah,
and suffering of putting this together is still too fresh in your memory. You need to digest this one a little bit
yeah.
before you roll on to the next one. Nicholas, thank you very much for your time, man. Always a pleasure to speak to you and to talk about the band and the music that you guys are doing. Stay in touch.
Likewise, and thank you for having me.
No problem. My pleasure.